Welcome back, YouTube. I am Turnkey, your host. In this video, I will cover Colonel Fredrick Roberts, U.S. Army Ordnance Department, 2, Committee on the Impact of Rift Technology, February 1947, from the Defiance Supplement. In the following video, I will show you my British Conflict 47 Army. This video is the final video in my first series covering the lore from the rulebooks and supplements Resurgence and Defiance. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed the content so far. Comment below to let me know if I should focus future videos on the lore for specific units such as Token Corps, or showcase some nicely painted community armies. The author of this report opens by taking a suggestion from his British counterpart to take into account the Canadian view of the war. First, Canadian Army's manpower issues. The war has raged for 8 years, and the public is fatigued of the war. The loss of Russia as an ally and the Japanese attack upon the western U.S. mainland have shocked the Canadian people. There is a great threat to logistics, as the Canadian armies in Europe need replacement from casualties, while new anti-aircraft positions necessary to protect the homeland from the Luftwaffe America bombers must also be manned. 1945. Saving Holland. Prior to the Great Winter of 1945, Canadian forces, recently transferred from Italy, liberated the Netherlands and saved its starving populace. The Canadian forces saw to reconstruction of docks, infrastructure, dikes, and the draining of the countryside. Strange sights. Starting in June 1946, the Canadian Army restructured its infantry companies. 3-man platoons became 2 platoons and a platoon of automated infantry. The soldiers initially complained that the robots could not perform many of the tasks of soldiers, unable to patrol or even act as sentry. In addition, the automated units required great amounts of maintenance and tend to overconsume ammunition when in use. These complaints ended quickly, and the automata became very popular when their advantages against German horror units were discovered. The heavy firepower of the robots and lack of fear made them ideal to counter Schreckwolfen and Token Corps night raids. It is noted that the infantry generally refuse the German name for these horror units, simply referring to them as werewolves and zombies, much to the chagrin of the officer class. The second oddity that soldiers might see in 1946 is the introduction of female walker crews. Female engineers, welders, and fabricators had been instrumental in the war effort. These walker mechanics were first brought to the front to maintain walker units in the field, necessitating greater training on walker operations. During the training, the advantages of smaller pilots became apparent, and trained mechanics also thrived in training, passing at a greater rate than the male Army pilots. During an assault on the 2nd Canadian Brigade headquarters by a Knockjagger horror company, the women of a maintenance crew quickly mounted the walkers they were repairing and counterattacked with a number of walkers in various state of repair. The Knockjagger were eliminated and the command element saved from impending doom. Reports of the event were propagandized, leading to the formation of the first all-woman walker platoon, featuring female pilots and mechanics all intended for combat. The effect on morale has been significant. Tactical reorganization. Section. By this point in the war, a single section is normally under strength. In addition to this, the Canadian forces still use bolt-action rifles instead of a semi-automatic or assault rifle, which many other nations have already adopted. To further compound the slow rate of fire of the average rifleman, the Canadian forces still rely on Bren-style light machine guns, limited by magazines, instead of belt-fed or even drum machine guns like World War I-style Lewis guns. Command blames a logistic constraint. All ammunition needs to be shipped from the American continent to the front in Europe, making the magazines and bolt-action rifles a deliberate choice to save ammunitions. Critics cite the large amount of ammunition the automated infantry consumes, which seem to defy this line of reasoning. Platoon. With undersized sections being the norm, and 1/3 of the men being replaced with automated infantry, a platoon can find itself with as few as 20 men and their robot companions, nicknamed Alfreds. The automated platoon will feature 10 men assigned to maintenance for the robots. Several spare robot bodies are kept on hand by the maintenance section to allow for hot swaps of working robot heads salvaged from recently destroyed automata. Platoons are expected to be linked up with the armor, walkers, transports, and big guns necessary before beginning any attack. Company. With 2 manned and 1 automated platoon making up each company, the command element often considered the 2-man platoons to be too vulnerable, especially to German Rift tech. The most common practice quickly became to incorporate automated sections in each man platoon. This provided 3-man platoon, each with an automated section for increased access to firepower, all supported by PL launchers and 2-inch light mortars. Battalion. Each battalion has been supplemented by a walker platoon consisting of 2 heavy grizzly walkers and 2 sections of 2 guardian light walkers. Largely manned by female crews, the walker platoons are extremely popular. They're seen as a massive increase in firepower, giving frontline access to 75mm cannons and flamethrowers for bunkers and static defenses. In addition to the walkers, the battalion level command also have access to American tanks, including Tesla Shermans, limited access to Pershings, and of course, Galahad armored infantry sections in Kangaroo transports. Conclusion. The narrator concludes that of all the Allied forces, the Canadians have best integrated the Rift tech into the inner workings of their battalions. U.S. and German forces sequester Rift tech units into separate organizations. The increased access to combined arms has had a positive impact on Canadian forces' ability to wage war. The narrator notes a strange occurrence. Much like the reports of Foo Fighters, strange tales are emerging from units integrated with automated infantry. Soldiers become fond of particular robots. They prefer to work continuously with a specific robot. They report that the robots return their camaraderie in extreme circumstances, going above and beyond for soldiers to which they are bonded. Technicians dismiss these claims, unwilling to speculate on AI or robot intelligences, instead attributing the stories to anthropomorphism and legend. Final thoughts. The narrator concludes that further investment in walker integration and even female crews is needed to match the combined arms efforts of the Canadians, before speculating on the odds that the Canadian forces can muster a third impressive breakthrough after their successes in Italy and France. Thanks for listening. Tune in next time when I show off my painted British Army.